Gina Kim felt her hand shake as she walked into the Grand Council chamber. The room was huge, bigger than anything she had ever seen before. The ceiling went up so high that she could not see the top. Rows and rows of seats filled the space. Each seat was made for a different kind of alien. She saw the bug-like Veltar with their crystal bodies that caught the light. Their voices sounded like wind chimes when they talked. Next to them sat the Morhun. They looked like giant fish but walked on two legs. Water dripped from their skin all the time. They had to wear special suits to breathe air. "Stay close and watch everything," said Hayuk Lee. He was walking next to her. Hayuk had been a diplomat for 20 years. His gray hair and calm eyes made him look wise. "Today you will learn something important about how things work here." Gina nodded. She had studied for months to get this job. She knew the names of 50 different alien species. She could speak 3 alien languages. But being here in person was different. The smell of the chamber hit her nose. It was a mix of many different things. Some sweet, some sour, some she could not name. They walked to the human section. The seats were simple compared to the others. No special water tanks like the Morhun needed. No crystal platforms like the Veltar used. Just normal chairs that humans could sit in. Ambassador Tae-wan was already there. He was reading papers and did not look up when they sat down. Tae-wan was famous among diplomats. He had solved 3 major wars without firing a single shot. His face was serious, but his eyes were kind. "The trade dispute starts in 5 minutes, Hayuk whispered to Gina. "Watch what happens when they call for speakers." Gina looked around the chamber. Hundreds of aliens filled the seats. She counted at least 30 different species. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that she could not tell which end was their head. The noise was loud. Everyone was talking in their own language. A huge gong rang out. The sound made Gina's ears hurt. Everyone became quiet. At the front of the chamber, a tall insect stood up. This was Council President Kickstar. His body was green and black. His forearms moved as he talked. "We meet today to discuss the trade problem between the Veltar and the Morhun," Kickstar said. His voice was high and sharp. "Both sides have sent their best speakers. Both sides want justice." Gina looked at the Veltar section. Their leader was a tall crystal being named Zithmore. Light moved through his body like colored water. The Morhun leader was called Deep Singer Halwyn. Water bubbled around her gills as she breathed. "This fight has gone on for 6 months," Kickstar continued. "The Veltar say the Morhun broke their deal. The Morhun say the Veltar changed the rules. Today we will find the truth." Gina expected Kickstar to call on one of the 2 fighting species first. That made sense. Let them tell their side of the story. But that is not what happened. "Following the law of this council," Kickstar said, "we will hear from the human delegation first." Gina's mouth opened in surprise. The humans were not part of this fight. They had nothing to do with the trade deal. Why would they speak first? She looked around the chamber. Every alien was looking at the human section. Not just looking, staring. Ambassador Tae-wan stood up slowly. He was not a tall man, but when he stood, everyone paid attention. The chamber became so quiet that Gina could hear her own heartbeat. "Thank you, President Kickstar," Tae-wan said. His voice was calm and clear. "Before we begin, I want everyone to remember something. Trade deals are not just about money or goods. They are about trust between friends." As he spoke, Gina watched. The aliens. Something strange was happening. The Veltar, who had been angry and loud before, were now sitting still. The Morhun, who had been bubbling with rage, were calm. Even aliens from other species who had nothing to do with the fight were leaning forward to listen. "The Veltar and Morhun have been trading partners for over 100 years, Tae-wan continued. "They have helped each other through bad times. They have shared good times together. One bad deal should not end 100 years of friendship." Zithmore, the Veltar leader, looked down at his crystal hands. Deep Singer Halwyn stopped the angry bubbling sounds she had been making. "I suggest we take 1 hour to think," Tae-wan said. "Let both sides remember why they became partners in the first place. Sometimes the best solution is not to win. Sometimes the best solution is to understand. Taewon sat down. The chamber stayed quiet for a long moment. Then Kickstar spoke. The human delegation has spoken. We will take 1 hour to think about these words. When we come back, the Veltar and Morhun will present their cases. As the aliens started to leave the chamber, Gina turned to Hyuk. Her mind was full of questions. Why did they ask us to speak first? She asked. We are not part of their fight. We just joined the Federation 3 months ago. Most of these species have been here for thousands of years. Hyuk smiled. It was the same smile her grandfather used to give her when she asked hard questions. That is a very good question, Gina, he said. But I cannot tell you the answer yet. You need to see more first. You need to understand how things really work. Here. But it does not make sense, Gina said. Why do they listen to us like that? Did you see how they all stopped being angry when Taewon talked? It was like magic. Not magic, Hyuk said. Something else. Something that makes humans special. In this place. But you have to learn it for yourself. I learned it the same way 20 years ago. They walked out of the chamber together. Gina's head was spinning with questions. In all her training, no one had told her about this rule. No one had explained why humans always spoke first. She had studied alien cultures and languages. She had learned about their wars and their peace deals. But no one had mentioned this strange power that human words seemed to have. The 1 hour break passed quickly. When they returned to the chamber, something had changed. The Veltar and Morhun were sitting closer together. They were talking to each other instead of shouting. When Kickstar called the session back to order, Zithmore stood up first. President Kickstar, the crystal being said, Deep Singer Halwyn and I have talked. We remember our long friendship. We want to fix this problem together, not fight about who is right. Deep Singer Halwyn bubbled in agreement. The human words reminded us of what is important. We will work together to find a solution that helps both our peoples. Gina watched in amazement as the two species worked out their problems in just 30 minutes. They changed the trade deal to make both sides happy. They shook hands, or what passed for hands in their species. The fight that had lasted 6 months was over. As they left the chamber, Gina looked back at the human section. Such a small group, compared to all the others. But somehow their words had changed everything. She did not understand it yet, but she knew she had seen something important. Something that would change how she thought about being human in this galaxy full of aliens. The answer was out there, waiting for her to find it. 3 days had passed since the council meeting, but Gina could not stop thinking about what she had seen. She kept asking herself the same questions over and over. Why did the aliens listen to humans with such respect? Why did they always speak first? What made human words so special? Hyuk had told her to be patient. He said she would understand in time. But Gina was not good at waiting. She needed answers now. That morning, she decided to visit the historical archive. The archive was in the lower levels of Nexus Station. It was a huge library that kept records of everything that happened in the galaxy. If answers existed, she would find them there. The archive was quiet and dark. Tall shelves filled with data crystals reached up to the ceiling. The air smelled old, like paper and dust. A few aliens sat at reading stations, their eyes glowing, as they looked through holographic displays. At the main desk sat a human man about her age. His name tag said Du Jin, senior archivist. He had thick glasses and messy black hair. When he saw Gina walking toward him, he looked up from his work. "Can I help you?" Du Jin asked. His voice was soft and friendly. "I am looking for information about something," Gina said. "I want to know why humans always speak first in council meetings." Du Jin's eyes grew wide. He looked around to make sure no one was listening. Then he leaned closer to Gina. "That is a very dangerous question," he whispered. "Most of those records are locked away. Only the highest level diplomats can see them. But you have access, right?" Gina asked. "You are the senior archivist." Du Jin was quiet for a moment. He pushed his glasses up his nose and thought. "I do, Have access, he said finally. But I am not supposed to show them to new diplomats. The Federation wants to control who knows this information. Please, Gina said. I need to understand. I saw something in that council meeting that I cannot explain. The way the aliens listened to us was not normal. Dujin looked at her for a long time. Then he made a decision. Follow me, he said. But you cannot tell anyone what I am about to show you. If they find out, I will lose my job. They walked deep into the archive, past the public sections where anyone could read, past the restricted areas where only diplomats could go, all the way to a vault door marked with warning signs in dozens of languages. Dujin put his hand on a scanner. The vault door opened with a heavy sound. Inside was a small room filled with data crystals that glowed red. These were the most secret files in the galaxy. What you are looking for is called the Theta crisis, Dujin said. He pulled out a crystal and put it into a reader. It happened 50 years ago, before you were born. Before I was born too. Holographic display appeared in the air. Gina saw star maps showing parts of the galaxy she did not recognize. Some systems were marked in red. Others were completely blank, as if they had been erased. The Theta crisis almost destroyed the Federation, Dujin explained. 3 whole sectors were lost. Billions of people died. It was the worst war in galactic history. What kind of war? Gina asked. Who were they fighting? That is where it gets strange, Dujin said. He touched the display and new images appeared. They were not fighting another species from this galaxy. They were fighting something that came from somewhere else, somewhere outside our reality. The images showed ships that looked wrong. Their shapes hurt Gina's eyes to look at. They seemed to bend and twist in ways that should not be possible. The Federation tried everything. Dujin continued. Every species sent their best warriors, their smartest scientists, their most skilled diplomats. For 3 years they fought and lost. The enemy was too strong, too different. But the war ended, Gina said. So someone must have won. Yes, Dujin said. And that someone was us, humans. He touched the display again. New files appeared, but most of the text was blacked out. Gina could only read a few words here and there. This is all that is left, Dujin said sadly. Most of the records were classified or destroyed, but I can tell you what little I know. Gina read the few words she could see. First contact protocol, successful negotiation, dimensional refugees, Ambassador Gian Park. Gian Park, Dujin said. He was the human who ended the war. But how he did it, that is the big secret. All I know is that after the Theta crisis, the Federation made a new law. Humans would always speak first in all council meetings. Why? Gina asked. What did this Gian Park do that was so special? I do not know, Dujin said. But I can tell you this. Every alien species that was alive during the Theta crisis remembers it. They remember what humans did. And they are terrified. It might happen again. Terrified of humans? Gina asked. That did not make sense. Humans were new to the galaxy. They had small ships and simple technology compared to the aliens. Not terrified of humans, Dujin said. Terrified of what might happen if they do not listen to humans. Before Gina could ask more questions, an alarm started ringing. Red lights flashed all over the archive. Dujin quickly pulled the crystal out of the reader and put it back in its place. Emergency alert, a voice said over the speakers. All diplomatic staff report to the council chamber immediately. This is not a drill. Dujin and Gina ran back through the archive. When they reached the main level of the station, they saw aliens, running everywhere. The usually calm corridors were full of noise and panic. What is happening? Gina asked of Veltar as it ran past. The Rakhul Empire, the alien said, its crystal body flashing red with fear. They are coming. Gina had heard of the Rakhul Empire. They were a warrior species that lived outside Federation space. They had never attacked the Federation before, but everyone knew they were dangerous. She ran to the council chamber. The huge room was already full of aliens talking loudly in dozens of languages. The noise was terrible. Everyone was scared and angry, Ambassador Hugh was in the human section with Taiwan and several other human diplomats. When he saw Gina, he waved her over. "What is the situation?" Gina asked as she sat down. "Bad," Hugh said. "The Rakhul fleet is 3 days away from Federation space. They sent a message demanding we surrender 3 outer rim systems." "Will we fight them?" Gina asked. "That is what everyone is arguing about," Hayek said. He pointed to the different sections of the chamber. "Some want war, some want to give them what they ask for, some want to try negotiation." Gina looked around the chamber. She could see the fear in every alien face. Some were crying, others were shouting. The bug-like species were clicking their mandibles in distress. The fish-like species were bubbling, anxiously. President Kickstar tried to call for order, but no one was listening. The panic was too strong. Then Gina remembered what she had learned in the archive. During the Theta crisis, the Federation had faced destruction before. They had been saved by human intervention. Was that why the aliens looked so scared? Were they waiting for humans to save them again? She watched as Ambassador Taiwan stood up. Even before President Kickstar called for quiet, the chamber began to settle down. All eyes turned to the human section. "Following protocol," President Kickstar said when the noise died down, "we will hear from the human delegation first." Gina felt her heart beat faster. She was about to see it again. The strange power that human words had over the aliens. But this time she would be watching for clues. This time she would try to understand what made humans so special. Ambassador Taiwan walked to the center of the chamber. Hundreds of alien eyes watched his every move. The silence was complete. "Friends," Taiwan said simply, "we have faced dark times before." As he spoke those words, Gina saw something she had missed in the previous meeting. The aliens were not just listening with respect. They were listening with hope, as if human words could somehow save them from the terror that was coming. She thought about the files in the archive. The Theta crisis, the classified records, the mysterious Ambassador Jian Park who had somehow ended a war that no one else could win. Whatever humans had done 50 years ago, the aliens had never forgotten it, and now they were counting on humans to do it again. Ambassador Taiwan stood in the center of the council chamber. All around him, hundreds of aliens waited to hear what he would say. The silence was so deep that Gina could hear the hum of the station's power systems. "Friends," Taiwan repeated, his voice calm and steady. "We have faced dark times before. We will face them again. But we are stronger when we stand together." Gina watched the aliens as he spoke. Their fear was still there, but something else was growing. Hope. Trust. They believed that somehow, human words would show them the way forward. "The Rakhul Empire demands 3 of our worlds," Taiwan continued. "They give us 2 days to decide. Some of you want to fight. Some want to surrender. Both choices come from fear." A few aliens shifted in their seats. The crystal Veltar dimmed, slightly. The aquatic Morhoon stopped their nervous bubbling. "But before we choose war or surrender, we must ask ourselves a simple question," Taiwan said. "Why do the Rakhul want these specific worlds?" President Kickstar stepped forward. "Ambassador Taiwan, we have already studied their demands. The 3 systems they want are rich in resources. They are strategic positions that would give them a foothold in our space." "That is what their message says," Taiwan agreed. "But is that what they really want?" Gina leaned forward. She could see where this was going. Just like in the trade dispute, Taiwan was not accepting the obvious answer. He was looking deeper. "The human delegation will study this matter," Taiwan said. "We ask for 6 hours to examine all available information about the Rakhul Empire and their recent activities." 6 hours? President Kickstar's insect voice rose high. "The Rakhul fleet will be here in 2 days. We need to make a decision now." "Panic is the enemy of wisdom," Taiwan said simply. 6 hours to think clearly is better than 2 days of fearful rushing." The chamber erupted in noise. Some aliens agreed with the human request. Others demanded immediate action. The arguing was loud and confused. But then something happened that made Gina's skin crawl. A new voice joined the chaos. It came from the main communication screen at the front of the chamber. The voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "Federation. Weaklings," the voice said. "I am Warlord Veshtak of the Rakhul Empire. I grow tired of waiting for your answer." The screen flickered and showed a face that looked like a nightmare. Veshtak was huge, with gray skin covered in scars. His eyes were red and angry. Sharp teeth filled his mouth. When he smiled, it looked like a threat. "Your 6 hours have become 6 minutes, Veshtak said. "Give us the 3 systems now, or we will take them, and then we will take more." The chamber fell silent again. But this time, it was the silence of terror. Several smaller species were shaking. Even the powerful Veltar looked afraid. "You have 3 minutes to answer," Veshtak continued. "After that, we start shooting." The screen went dark. President Kickstar looked around the chamber helplessly. 3 minutes was not enough time to vote on anything, let alone a decision about war and peace. "All those in favor of surrendering the systems," Kickstar called out desperately. About half the chamber raised their hands, arms, tentacles, or whatever they used to vote. "All those in favor of fighting," Kickstar called. The other half voted for war. "The vote is tied," Kickstar announced. "We have no decision." That was when Gina saw something she would never forget. Ambassador Taiwan did not ask for permission to speak. He did not wait to be called upon. He simply walked to the center of the chamber and started talking. "Warlord Veshtak," he said to the empty screen. "I know you can still hear us. I want to ask you something." The screen flickered back to life. Veshtak's angry face appeared again. "What?" the warlord growled. "Why those 3 systems?" Taiwan asked. "Out of all the worlds in Federation space, why exactly those 3? Veshtak's red eyes narrowed. "They are valuable." "Yes, but valuable for what?" Taiwan pressed. "They are agricultural worlds. Your species eats meat, not plants. They are far from any trade routes that would benefit you. They have no strategic military value against the Federation's main forces." Gina watched Veshtak's face carefully. For just a moment, the warlord looked surprised, as if he had not expected anyone to notice these details. "You think too much, human," Veshtak said. "We want those worlds. That is enough." "Is it?" Taiwan asked. "Or is there something else you need, something you are not telling us?" The warlord's face went dark with rage. "We need nothing from you, Federation fools. We take what we want." But Gina saw it. Just for a second, Veshtak's eyes had looked desperate. Not angry. Desperate. "End this call," Veshtak commanded someone off-screen. "Prepare to attack." The screen went dark again. The chamber exploded in panic. Aliens were screaming in dozens of languages. Some were running for the exits. Others were shouting orders that no one could hear over the noise. President Kickstar was clicking his mandibles rapidly, a sign of extreme stress in his species. "The vote was tied," he kept saying. "We have no decision. We have no plan." That was when Ambassador Minsu stood up. Gina had not noticed him before. He was a quiet man who rarely spoke in meetings. But when he rose from his seat, something magical happened. The chamber began to fall silent. Not because anyone called for order. Not because of any official protocol. The aliens simply stopped talking and turned to look at him. It was like watching waves become still. The noise died away in sections, starting from the human area and spreading outward. Within 30 seconds, the entire chamber was quiet. Minsu was not a large man. He was not impressive to look at. But when he spoke, every alien in the chamber leaned forward to listen. "Before we discuss our response to the Rakhul," Minsu said, "I want everyone to remember the Theta system." Gina felt the temperature in the room seem to drop. Several aliens actually stepped backward. One of the Veltar made a sound like breaking glass. Amor Hun's gills stopped working for a moment. The words Theta system had hit the aliens like a physical blow. Gina could see fear in their eyes, but it was a different kind of fear than before. This was not fear of the Rakhul Empire. This was fear of something much older and much worse. What happened at Theta must never happen again, Minsu continued. His voice was soft, but it carried to every corner of the huge chamber. We all remember the price of not listening. We all remember what we lost. Gina looked around at the alien faces. They were nodding. Some were crying. Others looked like they were in pain just from hearing the words. The human delegation requests 12 hours to study this situation, Minsu said. 12 hours to find a solution that does not end in death. President Kickstar's voice was shaking when he answered. The Rakhul said they would attack in 3 minutes. They will wait, Minsu said with quiet confidence. Send them a message. Tell them the humans are considering their request. They will wait. How can you be so sure? Kickstar asked. Minsu looked directly at the president. Because every species in this galaxy knows what happens when they do not wait for human words. Gina's mind was racing. The Theta system, the Theta crisis that Dujin had shown her in the archives. Whatever had happened there 50 years ago, it had changed everything. It had given humans a power that even they did not fully understand. She watched as President Kickstar sent the message to the Rakhul fleet. She held her breath, waiting to see if Minsu was right. The reply came quickly. Warlord Veshitak's face appeared on the screen again, but this time he looked different. Less confident, more worried. 12 hours, he said simply, but no more. The screen went dark. The chamber stayed quiet. Everyone was looking at the human delegation with a mixture of awe and terror. Gina finally understood what she was seeing. This was not just diplomatic courtesy. This was not tradition or protocol. This was power. Real power. The kind that could stop wars with a few simple words. But she still did not understand where that power came from. What had humans done at the Theta system that made every alien species afraid to ignore them? She looked at Minsu, who was already walking toward the exit with the other human diplomats. In 12 hours she might have her answer. In 12 hours she might finally understand why humans were the only species allowed to speak first in council halls. That night, Gina could not sleep. The 12 hours were almost up and she still did not understand what made human words so powerful. She had watched the alien reactions to Minsu's mention of the Theta system. She had seen their fear, but she needed to know why. At 2 in the morning, she gave up trying to sleep. She dressed quickly and walked through the quiet corridors of Nexus Station. Most of the aliens were in their quarters, probably having nightmares about the Rakhul fleet that was getting closer every hour. She found Hayuk in the human delegation's private meeting room. He was sitting alone at a table covered with data, pads and star charts. His gray hair was messy and his eyes were tired. I thought you might come here, he said without looking up. Sit down, Gina. It is time you learned the truth. Gina sat across from him. The Theta system, the Theta crisis. What really happened 50 years ago? Yuk was quiet for a long moment. He picked up one of the data pads and stared at it. Then he set it down and looked at her directly. What I am about to tell you is the most classified information in the galaxy, he said. Only a few humans know the complete story. Most aliens know parts of it, but not all. They prefer not to remember everything. Tell me, Gina said. Hayuki stood up and walked to the window. Outside, stars filled the darkness of space. Somewhere out there, the Rakhul fleet was coming. 50 years ago, the galaxy was at peace, Hyuk began. The Federation had existed for over 1,000 years. Wars between species were rare. Trade and cooperation were normal. Then the Theta system went silent. He turned back to face her. At first, no one was worried. Sometimes communication systems break down. But when a Federation ship went to investigate, they found something impossible. What? Gina asked. The entire Theta system was gone, Hayuk said. Not destroyed. Gone. Empty space where 4 planets and a star used to be. Gina felt cold. How is that possible? We did not know, Hayuk continued. Then other systems started disappearing, one by one, always without warning. The Federation sent warships to investigate. The ships disappeared too. He sat back down and pulled up a holographic display. It showed a map of the galaxy with large sections marked in red. Within 6 months, we had lost 50 star systems, Hayek said. Billions of people, entire species wiped out, and we still did not know what was causing it. But you found out eventually, Gina said. Yes. A deep space probe finally caught images of what was happening. Hayek touched the display and new images appeared. We were being invaded by something from outside our reality, ships that could fold space around them, beings that existed in dimensions we could not understand. The images showed the same impossible ships that Gina had seen in the archive. They hurt her eyes to look at. Every species in the Federation sent their best forces to fight, Hyuk said. The Veltar brought their crystal technology. The Morhun used their underwater tactics. The insect species coordinated like perfect hive minds. For 3 years they fought. But they lost, Gina said. They lost badly, Hayek agreed. The enemy was too different. Our weapons could not hurt them. Our strategies did not work. They thought in ways that no Federation species could understand. What about humans? Gina asked. We were part of the Federation then, right? No, Hayek said. This happened before first contact. Humans were still on Earth, thinking we were alone. In the universe. The Federation did not know we existed. Gina was confused. Then how did humans save the galaxy? Hyuk smiled sadly. That is where the story gets interesting. After 3 years of losing, the Federation was desperate. They were running out of ships, soldiers, and hope. That is when they detected radio signals from a small blue planet in an unknown system. Earth, Gina whispered. Earth, Hyuk confirmed. The Federation was so desperate that they decided to make first contact with us. Not for friendship or trade, but because they hoped a new species might have new ideas. He touched the display. Again. A new image appeared. It was a younger man with kind eyes and a confident smile. This is Gion Park, Hayek said. He was a diplomat working for the United Nations when the Federation ships arrived at Earth. The aliens explained the situation to our leaders. They asked for any help we could give. What did we do? Gina asked. At first, the same things the other species had tried, Hyuk said. Our military leaders studied the enemy ships and tactics. Our scientists tried to understand their technology. Our strategists made battle plans. But those did not work either, Gina guessed. No. But Gion Park had a different idea. While everyone else was focused on fighting the enemy, he asked a simple question. What question? Why are they here? Hayek said. Not how are they attacking us, or what weapons do they have. Just why. What do they want? Gina thought about that. What did he find out? He studied every attack pattern, every system they had taken, every ship they had destroyed, and he noticed something that all the alien military minds had missed. Hyuk paused as if the next words were difficult to say. The invaders were not conquering planets, he said finally. They were not stealing resources or enslaving people. They were not even trying to communicate. They were just clearing space. Clearing space for what? For themselves, Hayek said. Gion Park realized that these beings were not invaders. They were refugees. Something in their own dimension had gone wrong. They were running from something even worse than they were. Gina felt her understanding of the story shift. So the war was a misunderstanding? The biggest misunderstanding. In galactic history, Hayek said. 2 groups of refugees, both running from different threats, fighting each other instead of talking. But how did Gion Park prove this? He did something that no alien species had thought to try, Hayek said. He went to meet them. Alone. Unarmed. He took a small ship to the edge of their territory and broadcast a simple message. What message? Help, Hayek said. Just that one word, repeated in every language we knew. Not surrender, not negotiation, not threat, just help. Gina was quiet for a moment, trying to imagine the courage that would take. The interdimensional beings stopped their advance, Hyuk continued. For the first time in 3 years, they sent a communication back. It took 6 months of careful translation, but eventually Gian Park was able to talk to them. What did they say? They were dying, Hyuk said. Their home dimension was collapsing. They had escaped to our reality, but they did not know how to survive here. They were taking planets because they thought they needed to remove our kind of life to make room for their kind of life. And Gian Park showed them they were wrong. He showed them that cooperation was possible, Hyuk said. Working together, human and alien scientists found ways for both species to share the same space. The interdimensional beings did not need to destroy our planets. They just needed help adapting to our reality. So the war ended? The war ended, Hyuk confirmed. But not the way any alien species expected. They had been prepared to fight to the death or surrender completely. Humans found a third option. We found a way for everyone to win. Gina felt pieces clicking together in her mind. And that is why aliens listen to humans, because we found a solution no one else could see. That is part of it, Hyuk said. But there is more. After the crisis ended, the Federation studied what had happened. They wanted to understand why humans had succeeded where everyone else failed. What did they find? They found that humans think differently than any other species in the galaxy. Hyuk said, other species are very good at understanding their own kind. Humans are good at understanding others. I do not understand. Every alien species has evolved to think in a certain way, Hyuk explained. The Veltar think in terms of crystal structures and light patterns. The Morhun think in terms of water currents and pressure. Each species is brilliant at solving problems that relate to their own nature. But humans? Humans evolved as social creatures who had to cooperate with other humans to survive, Hyuk said. We learned to understand different points of view. We learned to see problems from multiple angles. We learned to imagine what others might be thinking or feeling. Gina was beginning to understand. So when the interdimensional beings appeared, aliens tried to understand them by thinking like aliens, but humans tried to understand them by thinking like the beings themselves. Exactly, Hyuk said. And that made all the difference. He stood up again and looked out at the stars. After the Theta crisis, the Federation made the human first protocol, not because we are smarter or stronger than other species, but because we are better at seeing things from different perspectives. And now we have 12 hours to do it again, Gina said. Yes, Hyuk said. We have 12 hours to figure out why the Rakhul Empire really wants those 3 systems. And more importantly, we have 12 hours to find a solution that saves everyone. As if summoned by his words, Min-Su appeared in the doorway. The analysis is complete, he said. I think we know what the Rakhul really need, and Gina, we are going to need your help. The council chamber was packed. Every seat was filled with nervous aliens waiting to hear the human solution. Outside the station, long-range sensors showed the Rakhul fleet getting closer. They would arrive in 3 hours. Gina sat with the human delegation, but this time she was not just watching. Min-Su had asked her to be ready to speak. Her heart was beating fast, but she tried to stay calm. Remember what Hyuk taught you, Min-Su whispered to her. Do not think like a human, trying to understand aliens. Think like the aliens themselves. President Kickstar called for order. His insect voice was shaky with stress. The 12 hours are finished. We must hear the human solution now. Min-Su stood up. Like always, the chamber became perfectly quiet when a human prepared to speak. But this time, Gina understood why. The aliens were not just being polite. They were hoping for a miracle. We have studied the Rakhul demands carefully, Min-Su said. They want 3 specific agricultural worlds, Kepler 442b, Ross 128b, and Proxima Centauri C. He touched a control pad and a holographic display appeared above the chamber. It showed the 3 planets the Rakhul had demanded. These worlds grow crops that the Rakhul cannot eat. Min-Su continued. They are far from Rakhul space. They have no strategic military value. So why do they want them? Murmurs filled the chamber. Several aliens were nodding. They had wondered the same thing. We looked at recent astronomical data, Min-Su said. We found something interesting. The display changed to show the Rakhul home system. A huge asteroid belt was moving toward their planets. In 18 months, this asteroid field will hit the Rakhul homeworld, Min-Su explained. Their planet will be destroyed. But that is not the worst part. The display zoomed in on the asteroids. They were glowing with a strange light. These asteroids contain radioactive materials that are deadly to the Rakhul species, Min-Su said. Even if they survive the impact, the radiation will make their homeworld uninhabitable for thousands of years. The chamber erupted in surprised voices. No one had known about this threat. The Rakhul Empire is not trying to conquer the Federation, Min-Su said. They are trying to save their people. President Kickstar stepped forward. But why did they not ask for help? Why did they threaten war? This was where Gina was supposed to speak. Min-Su looked at her and nodded. She stood up on shaky legs. Because they are proud, Gina said. Her voice sounded small in the huge chamber, but everyone was listening. The Rakhul are a warrior culture. They believe asking for help is weakness. She thought about what Hayuk had taught her. Try to understand them from their point of view. Imagine you are Warlord Veshtak, she continued. Your people are going to die, but you cannot ask your enemies for charity. So you create a military threat. You demand worlds as tribute. That way, when you move your people there, it looks like conquest instead of rescue. The aliens in the chamber were silent. They were trying to understand this strange logic. But why those 3 worlds specifically? President Kickstar asked. Gina had studied the data all night. Those 3 planets have the right gravity for Rakhul physiology. They have the right atmosphere composition. And most importantly, they are uninhabited by sentient species. Uninhabited, President Kickstar repeated. The Rakhul do not want to hurt innocent people, Gina explained. Even in their desperation, they chose empty worlds. They are trying to save their species without committing genocide. A new voice joined the conversation. The communication screen flickered to life, showing Warlord Veshtak's scarred face. Enough talk, the Warlord growled. Our fleet will arrive soon. Give us your answer. Min-Su stepped forward. Warlord Veshtak, we know about the asteroid field. Veshtak's red eyes widened in surprise. For a moment, his fierce mask slipped and Gina could see the desperation underneath. We know your world is dying. Min-Su continued gently. We know your people need a new home, and we want to help. We need no help. Veshtak roared, but his voice cracked slightly. Yes, you do, Gina said, stepping up beside Min-Su. And that is okay. Everyone needs help sometimes. The warlord stared at her through the screen. You are very small to speak so boldly, human. Child. I am small, Gina agreed. But I can see that you are in pain. You are trying to save your people, but you are afraid to look weak. Veshtak was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was softer. What do you propose? Min-Su activated the holographic display again. This time it showed a different set of planets. We propose a trade, Min-Su said. The Federation has 12 uninhabited worlds that would be perfect for the Rakhul. Better than the 3 you demanded. Larger, more resources, closer to your current territory. In exchange for what? Veshtak asked suspiciously. Help, Gina said. Your people are amazing engineers and builders. Help us construct new space stations. Help us mine asteroids. Help us explore dangerous systems that are too risky for other species. You want us to work? Veshtak asked. We want you to be partners, Min-Su corrected. The Federation needs what the Rakhul can offer. Strong ships, brave explorers, skilled warriors to protect our borders. In return, we offer new homes for your people. The chamber was completely silent. Everyone was waiting to see what the warlord would say. This sounds like charity, Veshtak said finally. No, Gina said firmly. This is trade. Fair trade between equals. The Rakhul get new worlds. The Federation gets new allies. Everyone wins. Veshtak looked at her for a long time. Then he looked around at the alien faces filling the chamber behind her. "Is this the will of the Federation?" he asked. President Kickstar stepped forward. "If the Rakhul accept this proposal, the Federation Council will vote to approve it immediately." "All in favor?" Kickstar called out. Every hand, arm, tentacle, and appendage in the chamber rose. The vote was unanimous. Veshatak was quiet again. Gina could see him thinking, weighing his options. "Our fleet will stop its advance," he said finally. "We will send negotiators to discuss the details of this partnership." The screen went dark. For a moment the chamber was silent. Then cheering erupted from every section. Aliens were hugging, singing and celebrating in dozens of different ways. But Gina was not celebrating yet. She walked over to where Hayek was sitting. "Did we really save them?" she asked. "You did more than save them," Hayek said with a smile. "You turned enemies into friends, just like Gion Park did 50 years ago." "But I did not do anything special," Gina said. "I just tried to understand why they were really angry." "That is exactly what makes it special," Hayek said. "Most species would have prepared for war or surrendered to avoid death. Only humans would have asked why the Rakhul needed those worlds in the first place." President Kickstar approached them. "Ambassador Kim," he said to Gina. "I am not an ambassador yet," Gina corrected. "You are now," Kickstar said. "The Federation Council has just voted to promote you. Congratulations." As the celebration continued, around them, Hayek put his hand on Gina's shoulder. "Now you understand," he said. "Now you know why humans speak first in council halls." Gina nodded. She finally understood the weight of responsibility that came with being human in a galaxy full of different species. Other species were brilliant at many things. They could build amazing technology, create beautiful art, and solve complex problems. But humans had one unique gift. They could look at a problem and see the people behind it. "What happens next?" Gina asked. "Next, we help the Rakhul relocate their people," Hayek said. "We help them become part of the Federation family, and we wait for the next crisis that will need the human perspective." "Will there be more crises?" "There are always more crises," Hayek said. "The galaxy is a big place with many different kinds of people. Sometimes they misunderstand each other. Sometimes they get scared or angry. When that happens, they need someone who can see all sides of the problem." Gina looked around the chamber at all the different alien species. Each one was unique and wonderful in their own way. Each one had their own fears, hopes, and dreams. "It is a big responsibility," she said. "Yes," Hayek agreed. "But it is also a great honor. We get to be the bridge between different worlds. We get to turn enemies into friends. We get to help everyone understand each other." As they walked out of the chamber together, Gina thought about the young diplomats who would come after her. Someday she would be the one teaching them about the human first protocol. She would be the one explaining why humans had this special role, and she would tell them the same thing Hugh had told her. "We do not speak first because we are better than other species. We speak first because we remember that everyone else in the room is still people, no matter how different they look." The galaxy was vast and full of wonders. But the most wonderful thing of all was the way different species could work together when they understood each other. And humans, with their gift for seeing through other eyes, would always be there to help make that understanding possible.